October 25th, 2023. We typically start these meetings with a prayer, reading, or thought, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Chaplain Walton here to share a prayer and a message with us. We always appreciate that. Following her, be thinking amongst yourselves, because one of you gets to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. The Constitution is wonderful, and the First Amendment to the Constitution is also wonderful. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of people to peaceably assemble. You have to be peaceable. Okay. And to petition the government for a redress of grievances. We're very grateful for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Let's pray together. Dear Father, we are grateful for all of the blessings that we have. We look on the TV at night and see people with no homes, no water. They can't find their families. They're hurt themselves. We don't have any of that, Father. And even if we did, we have things that we could do to take care of ourselves better than those people have been able to over there. And so, Father, help us in this meeting to protect our government, to protect our Bill of Rights and Constitution, and to make sure that that kind of thing never happens here. Thank you so much, Father. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Do I have a volunteer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right. Thank you, Rudy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay, we're going to move into our recognition for Employee of the Month. Commissioner Gordon will be presenting that to us this month.
I always think it's funny that we always coerce this employee to come here without knowing why they're coming here, and maybe they already do know. Deputy Owens, do you know why you're here today? No. Now you do.
I got pulled something out.
Okay, figured. We're a very trusting organization. We like to tell little fibs to get you to come to these meetings, and so I'm not sure who was in charge of that at the sheriff's department, but
Looks like these two guys here.
it's well deserved. So I'm gonna embarrass you a little bit and read some of what they said about you when they nominated you for this Employee of the Month for October. Deputy Brandon Owens is a dedicated officer and a true asset to the Utah County Sheriff's Office. He consistently goes above and beyond his duties to become an effective and influential public servant. Deputy Owens exhibits professionalism and compassion when working with offenders as well as members of the public and is always willing to lend a helping hand. His commitment to his job and the citizens of Utah County is truly commendable, and he is a prime example of what it means to be a great deputy sheriff. They go on to talk about your efforts in the greenhouse and planting flowers, and that we're all the recipients of seeing those beautiful flowers around a lot of the county buildings, and appreciate all of your work in what you do with Jail Industries and the greenhouse program and all of that. And then they end with saying Deputy Brandon Owens is loved by his coworkers. He is a team player and is always aware of the needs of others. His positive impact on his family, team, and department cannot be exaggerated. He is truly impressive in every respect. Congratulations. Thanks, Brandon. We'll have you come up and give your 20-minute speech if you don't mind.
They told you to prepare that, right?
Nobody told you to prepare it, but we'll just take a picture if that's all you know.
Did you?
Okay. Go closer, Brandon. There we go. Okay. One more.
No, thank you.
Thank you. There you are. I can go on the bridge next to all the other ones. So.
All right, great, thank you.
Oh,
dangerous. Be careful with that.
I saw Cam hit it too. On his way down. So.
All right, thank you. Well, next we will build our agenda. Everything will be on consent except for what we hold or strike or continue. All right, items 1 through 10. I'm going to strike item number 8. We're working on changing a few of the parameters on that, and we'll add it to the agenda when we have it ready. So I'll strike item number 8.
Okay, good.
Anything else 1 through 10?
None other for me.
Okay. 11,
None for me.
11 through 20. I'm going to hold 17 and 18 because I had questions. Okay. Any others?
Nope.
No, I had none.
Okay, 21 through 30. We've got items 29 and 30 to hold.
Yep.
Any
That's what I
others?
29 and 30. I got none others.
Okay, 31 through 40.
None for me.
Okay, 31 through 40.
None for me.
I got one.
None for me.
Okay, I've got item number 41 needs to be held as stated. Paul, do we need 42, 43, or 44? I don't see Richard back there to tell us we do, or Ralph. Oh, Ralph, we're having it. We don't need any others. All right, we'll strike items 42, 43, and 44. Okay, Alice.
Okay. I have a striking agenda items number 8, holding 17, 18, 29, and 30. And then as far as the closed meetings, we're going to hold a stated 41 and striking 42, 43, and 44.
Correct. Okay, we'll jump into
You
item.
broke up just a little bit, but just confirm 29 and 30 we're holding.
Yeah. Correct.
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it.
Okay, we'll go to item number 17. So 17 and 18. So the questions I had on that was just ensuring that the grant funding covers not only the salary and benefits, but also any of the internal service fees and administrative overhead costs of those positions.
Yeah. So I got the budget written up for that. So I mean,
Can you give it?
Yeah.
Be great if you want to show that to us. Is this for both 17 and 18?
Yes. So Mike prepared this budget, and you'll see within it, it does include the overhead, the amount needed for rent, phone, and the purchase you'll see in year 1, but then also in ongoing, you'll see where the overhead, it's in there. It's increased quite a bit by year 2 and goes down a little bit in year 3. And Mike can explain this in greater detail than I, but we received this grant this year. We actually have not gotten the approval to start utilizing it until super late in the year. The good news is we have carryover ability. So basically $500,000 per year for 3 years, more than that, but roughly we're able to carry forward what we're not able to use this year because we're getting it so late into year 2. And that's why you'll see it scaled up a little bit. But there is, Mike did take into account the ongoing needs to pay for the rent and also the overhead costs with supervision and things like that.
So what's the total amount of the grant?
So it's $340,000 a year for 3 years, including this year. So the total is $1,020,000.
Okay.
And the $340,000 that is allocated for each year can be carried over. So this year we have $340,000 to spend, but since we're in October, obviously we're not going to spend anywhere near that. So
Right,
we'll
so
just
you'll
carry over
carry
that
that
on to
over?
next year. So year 2 is the biggest, and then year 3 will be reduced just because we won't have as many expenses that year. Since we'll try to purchase all of the, computers, all the hardware, all that kind of stuff this year, get that all out of the way. So the administrative overhead, that's just 20%. I just took 20% of the total. So that's why that number varies.
Okay.
So any questions about any of that?
Nope, I'm good. I'm good with both of those.
Alrighty.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? If not, I
I have no further questions.
can make a motion to approve items 17 and 18.
I can second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve items 17 and 18. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, that passes 3-0. Okay, item number 29, adopt a resolution approving and tentatively adopting the 2024 tentative budget for the general fund and other budgetary funds for Utah County.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jeremy Walker, Director of Financial Services. The state statute requires the county auditor each year to prepare a tentative budget, and you've seen the resolution. And I wanted to acknowledge the many, many hours that have gone into preparing this document. Rudy and Cindy and Brian on the budget team in our office, but also each department and their staffs have worked very hard to submit proposals and to explain and get that all done. So it's kind of the beginning, it's the end of the beginning and the beginning of the end in this process, but it's the handoff from the auditor's office to the commission with the auditor's office recommendations for what that will look like based on the proposal that we've seen, and we'll make all those proposals and recommendations available to you for your own considerations. So that's kind of what's led us to this, and it's an important part of government to develop these annual budgets. And so the document that you're seeing is very much summarized, and so I have a presentation that gives some of the highlights of that document.
Fantastic. It's all of our favorite time of year, right, everyone? Budget season?
Yeah. Thank you.
Making sure. That's called neuro-linguistic programming. We all love budget season.
Okay, so we can go to the first slide. So the highlights for the general fund, I'll just get it out there. As most people know, the economic environment is declining. We're not into the negative yet, but we certainly are behind expectations, and inflation is still a real thing, and other economic factors. So generally speaking, in our general fund, our overall costs are going up by 6% from 23 to 24. Thank you. Sales tax projections are down to 2.5%, and I'll have a more specific slide in a minute. It's historically been between 5 and 7%, so that's still positive, but just barely. The property tax growth, again, has been between 4 and 5%. We're projecting that to be down based on the number of building permits issued in 2023 that would expectedly be completed in 2024. We think that'll be down to closer to 3%. And the biggest number, of course, is the use of fund balance, which others call the rainy day fund, at $14.2 million. A big highlight for that is a doubling of the transfer to the health fund. And again, I'll have more on that in a minute, going from $4 million to $8.4 based on the projections we've made in the tentative budget. Wage growth is about 8.6%, which is kind of in line with historical. So I guess the one positive is it's not as bad as it's been the last 2 years, the wage growth, and that's indicative of inflation on wages starting to come down, but it's still higher than where the Fed and others want it to be, and where long-term historical it has been. And then materials and supplies, which isn't a huge portion within the general fund, but it grew 24%. So we're still seeing the cost of stuff that we have to buy to provide these services is still higher than where we'd like it to be, ideally. Next slide, please. So I hope this is helpful. This is the general fund original budgets from the past few years. So as many know, we had a tax increase in 2019 because we were running budget deficits for multiple years consecutively. That, for those in the room, that you can see here in the, where's the clicker? There it is. There we go. It won't show up there. Okay. Well, the first 3 years were prior to that tax increase. And the tax increase, crazy sales tax numbers, and federal government funds allowed us to have, and we still have very full coffers due to that. But in 2023, we started 2023 with a small surplus. And as we've amended that budget twice, we're now at about a $7 million deficit. So this tentative budget, as I mentioned a minute ago, is at about a $14 million deficit, which would come from the rainy day fund or what we call fund balance. And then just a rough estimate of about an 8% increase with modest growth on revenues. We'd anticipate about a $20 million deficit if nothing changes on the revenue side for 2025. So a bit of a grim outlook, but we hope we've prepared people for this news. So that's the general fund. And as I mentioned before, we've seen quite an increase in the health department, and there's a couple of reasons for that. But this is, again, that same time frame starting in 2017. So these are operational deficits in their budgets, original budgets, and 2023 and again in 2024. The difference mainly between 23 and 24 is they had rainy day fund in the health department fund they were able to use, but will require, based on our current projections, an additional $4 million to balance their budget in 2024 as it's presented in the tentative budget. So some of the economic factors related to what we're seeing, this is some numbers that I've run to show since the last tax increase, so 2020 through this current year, inflation in 2020 was, I guess, what we'd call normal, but that is increased and it's starting to come down and we're looking maybe a little bit below 4% for 2023. But because of the way property taxes work, and these tax revenues are the property tax revenues in that tax revenue column, we don't benefit from an increase in purchasing power like we do with sales tax. So as home values go up, we don't benefit from that from a property tax basis, but our costs still do go up based on real world inflation. So this is just showing, and this is national inflation, this isn't local, but just to give you an idea of how that, since that tax increase, our purchasing power has been cut by almost $10 million based on that revenue source. And then this is probably the most poignant one. We can see these are percentage growth in sales tax. So not dollars, but percentages. And 2020 through 2022 were double-digit growth numbers, which are, remember when I talked to, unprecedented. The inflation has started coming back down, which may or may not result in people buying less stuff, which has resulted in lower, still positive, but just barely sales tax increases. So it hasn't dipped into the negative, knock on wood. But the truth is nobody nationally or locally from the economics perspective even pretend to know what the future brings. So,
But if you consider that our growth has been over 3%, but our sales tax increase is only 2%, that is a reduction in spending because we haven't grown at the same rate as our population.
correct. So we again just expect something similar in 2024 to what we got this year, which was about 2% increase. So we're hoping it stays positive, but that's how we got to our sales tax revenue. So those are just the highlights. Do you have any questions related to the tentative budget? I don't see any smiles up here.
No, you bring up points that, Jeremy, you brought up a couple of points, and one of the projections I guess from local banks is that they expect 2024 to be similar in revenue streams, interest rates, sales, to be about what they are this year, and that they're expecting 2025 to see that increase. Even then, U.S. Commerce Department projected early this calendar year that really they don't know, and no one at the federal government knows what the outcome. So what you said is spot on. So I wanted to say thank you for that data. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I know that was it yesterday or the day before that Salt Lake County adopted their tentative budget? And I listened to the highlights of that meeting, and the highlights weren't really high. They were more like lowlights, where they are entering a salary or a hiring freeze. Salt Lake County, because of very similar numbers to these, will be going into a hiring freeze. So all open positions that have been unfilled for several months, they're basically eliminating in order to be able to balance their budget.
No question, just a comment. Thank you for always making yourselves available to us commissioners, even phone calls late at night sometimes. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you helping.
Well, and that's one thing I wanted to mention. As Jeremy said, this is the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning or whatever. I mean, my family asked me, so are you done? I said, no, we've reached a plateau. There's still lots of climbing to do here. My team will be available, and we're actually working to set a schedule where we will be assigning some of our people to work with each commissioner over the next 5 weeks or whatever to help you to develop your proposed budget so that we can come up with a budget that is the best that we could possibly put together this year. And by all of your work with us, I think that'll come to pass. Do the best of what we can do.
Looking
Rudy,
forward.
thank you for your 7 days of work, consistent, almost 24/7.
It's not that much.
Monday through Sunday is what you do, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I plan
And
to
Jeremy's
be.
right there.
I plan to be giving the Lord's Day back to him in the future here.
Typically the day that I spend sleeping, recovering from all the budget meetings.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that
And none.
tentative budget? All right, we have a motion on item number 29.
Motion to adopt
I'll make
a resolution approving and tentatively adopting the 2024 tentative budget for the general fund and other budgetary funds of Utah County.
I can second that.
All right, it's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes 3-0. Item number 30, approve the property tax actions included in recommendation letter 2023-13. Adam?
Adam Beck, County Attorney's Office. Thank you, Commissioners. Just so you're aware, the applicant is here and may want to speak on this item. If I may, I'll just give you a little bit of the background on this. Previously, this applicant did qualify for the county low income tax abatement. In 2023, the situation changed, and she moved her property from her name to an LLC. Unaware to her, by doing that, it made her ineligible for that low income tax abatement. And so she was denied that abatement. A few weeks ago, we were before this body on this item, and the recommendation from my office was to deny because the property was still in an LLC, and the board went with that recommendation, and the application was denied. Since that meeting, the situation has changed again. The property has been moved from an LLC back to her name. Here in the last 24 hours, I've been in contact with Bert Harvey and Vicki Westergaard, looking at this application, and we looked at to see if the property had been in her name at the beginning of the year, if she would have qualified for the abatement, and it looks like she would have. So, in the documentation that is before you, it is the documentation, the recommendations from a couple weeks ago. I would like to change my recommendation from a denial to approving the abatement. Now, without the abatement, the total property taxes are $2,290, and our recommendation is not to give her the abatement, but because she doesn't qualify for the abatement, but to treat her as if she were given the abatement, so the total taxes still due after the abatement would be $1,145.
So we're looking at when the abatement was available in 2022 and assuming that it'll be available in 2024, and we're looking to make 2023 even with those 2 years.
Correct.
Sounds good. And the issue has been fixed, so we won't have this problem in 2024.
Yes, on the materials that was provided to you, we provided the deed from the LLC to her, back to her name, so it has been moved.
All right.
I don't have any further questions. Do you, Tom?
I have none.
I think that explained it really
The
well.
amount that was, what kind of income does the owner have? That was the original reason for creating this LLC, is to protect her assets. Because is she there? Can she speak to this, what her
Yes,
income
she
is?
is here.
I might just make a comment, and Adam, before you leave, you said you were in contact with the tax admin. Did they verify income and to see if she would have applied, qualified for the abatement?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so all that was verified already. So you don't, I mean, you can answer if you want to, but I don't know if you want to, in a public meeting, declare
No, I'm
your
fine.
income. Okay, like if you don't
Yeah,
want to, we have
yeah.
verification from the office.
Yeah,
so, okay.
I'm only on
Okay.
Social Security.
Yeah,
So my only income is that, and it is far below the poverty level, unfortunately. So, and I just also want to clarify that the whole reason it got moved into an LLC was because I was told it was disregarded entity as far as the IRS was concerned because of the type of LLC, because it didn't pay taxes, it was not an employer, it did not have an EIN, and it was just to protect my home because there are some legal proceedings going on. Sorry, I just had some oral surgery, so I sound really weird. So yeah, when that got all explained to me, I since that point, because it was a year ago, we have since done discovery for this particular legal matter that we're going through, and my attorney said that we're looking good, so I shouldn't have much to worry about. So I went ahead and moved it back out of the LLC into my name.
Okay.
So hopefully that clarifies. Thank you.
Thanks.
was there any comment by her as to the recommended amount, adjusted amount?
No.
I think it was 1,100 something.
Yeah, I think the adjustment was based off of what an abatement would have been, right?
Yes, the abatement would have been 1,145. Currently, before any abatement or any action from this board, it is 2,290.
Okay.
So cut it in two, basically.
Yeah. I'm fine going with, someone wants to make a motion to go with the recommended based off of what an abatement would have been.
So moved.
All right, do I hear a second?
I could second that.
All right, it's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Thank you. Okay, with that, we are done, heading into closed session. Thank you, everybody.
Public comment.
Oh, public comment. I almost forgot, because it's at the end. Any public comment?
It's
Not online? All right, we're good. We'll go into closed session. Thanks, everyone.